Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone who's in the room and all those with us virtually. This is the first 2019 Growth Summit. We hope you participate in the future ones. The layout of today is simple. We're going to teach you the 4 main channels of membership growth. Each of you will be asked to participate in at least one of them. Think of it this way. The playbook has been thrown out. The days of having 2 tight ends and a full house backfield is done. We're in a spread offense, 4 wide receivers, and we're throwing the ball downfield. The question is, are you going to go downfield and catch it? Put it another way, a client's about to call you to say they're going to buy. Are you going to pick up the phone or let it go to voicemail? That's my initial message. Suzanne Caraway is with us today. Some NAIFA people around the country is with us today, and we hope you walk away with this. Questions and answers will be taken care of at the end of the meeting. The next slide is...
Go ahead. It just goes through our agenda. Go.
So there's the agenda. We're having a few welcome remarks. Let me reintroduce myself or introduce myself. I'm Dennis Cuccinelli, the membership chair and a member of the Board of Trustees. Later in the day, you're going to hear from a number of people. Suzanne, Brian's here with us. Some really exciting programs coming on. You're going to hear a message about Gamma today, something that's, in my opinion, very earth-shattering. A new way of approaching membership, which is one of the reasons why we have this membership program today. It's a total new way of approaching membership. While we still do the one-on-one asks, they haven't been as effective as we need them to be. We're in a position where we need to grow quickly. I'm sure all of you who are on this call right now will want to participate. If someone wants to reach out to me, please do so. Almost 24/7 I'm available if it's a membership question. We're going to review the corporate partnership programs, what's going on with Prudential, Mass Mutual, and so many other companies. We'll do a short break, then dive into the agency program, which is turning out to be extremely effective. Where we stand up in front of a crowd in one agency, make a 15-minute presentation, and walk out with applications or people taking out their cell phones right then and there and signing up. It's amazing. We did something of that nature yesterday at a Philadelphia meeting. I had roughly 25 non-members in attendance. We're looking at 50% sign-up rate from those 25 non-members. And that was from a 15-minute presentation. Presentations based on advocate, educate, and differentiate. You can add your own words in there, just follow the program, and I promise you, it will work.
We need your feet. We need your feet. That's right. So as Dennis has said, momentum is growing. And again, let me introduce myself if we don't know each other yet. My name is Suzanne Caraway. I'm the AVP of Membership and Marketing here at NAIFA National. I've had really the pleasure to meet many people. I've met some new people today, but I try to get out in the field because the field is where this is going to explode, right? So we're going to spend a lot of time today talking about this. As Dennis said, this quarter happens to be a very heavy quarter for Day on the Hills, things like that. We have tried to move as fast as possible to get on a plane and deliver this new message. And as soon as we can get there, we can. So now we're starting to see the field ask us questions like, hey, we're about to have a meeting. And I'm like, hold on a second, let me ship you something else. So as fast as we can get the message out, we're trying to do that. So we've had a couple of recent successes that we've been talking about. We're also getting a lot of invitations at NAIFA National to come speak and be a part of your event, which is fantastic, and we will say yes. And we have an extremely engaged board who is all in to be able to have presence at these events. Dennis, like he said, Dennis will probably, by plane, train, or automobile, get there to talk about NAIFA and what we need to do. So what are we doing, right? The whole kind of crux of today, I'm going to present the part that is really our new membership message and how we're delivering this and also kind of early results that we've had for it. So we're calling it the NAIFA's Membership Promise. And if you even noticed our new PowerPoint, it's called Advocate, Educate, Differentiate. I'm going to tell you a couple of the components, and then Dennis is going to put it into fruition when he does the actual agency presentation and kind of does a little role play. So we talk about the NAIFA does 3 things and 3 things really well. And it's important to understand that we put advocate first, not just because it's in alphabetical order, but advocate, of course, is one of the cornerstones of NAIFA. If we didn't have that, then we wouldn't have NAIFA. So advocate comes first. We have educate because that's important, but that's not, for many people out there, that's not, it's not everyone needs our education. We have a lot of companies, they provide it, they don't see that as valuable, but advocate, the advocacy part is always important. And then on the end, hanging off the rest of it is differentiate. And that's the one we really want to talk about, that we're saying, how can NAIFA membership actually help that advisor stand out from the crowd, make more money, be more competitive, have a just a more full life. You know, we have a program for every life cycle of an advisor, every stage of their life cycle, right? So we're going to talk a little bit later about some analysis I did on the cancellation notices, but I'm just going to give you one piece of it. 9 people just canceled in 2018, having given 58 years of service or more. 58 years, and one person was 61. So we can agree maybe they're due to cancel. Maybe they're okay to cancel. That's not a bad thing. So as we all know, you know, we have to, we're here because we're in a grow or die situation, right? We're in a grow or die situation. And so we have to have all hands on deck to do this. So then NAIFA membership promise, advocate rather. We call it the protective advisor. So this is messaging that's coming out about our advisors and the good work that they do in the community to protect the businesses and families in that community. So we're going to play on that a lot more. You'll see that coming out. So, you know, our goal is that we can make the claim that we have a NAIFA member in every congressional district. Right now, we've got some, I think of it just like animals going extinct. We have some areas, we have some endangered species areas. Right, so we need to hone in on those areas and make sure that when we go up to Capitol Hill, we can continue to make that claim with total authenticity, that we have a NAIFA member in every congressional district. And as you know, if you have never been to congressional conference, it is life-changing. What we do know is if we can get a member to get to congressional conference, the likelihood that they'll ever leave us is very low. Right, because it's that impactful to go to congressional conference. So we're really saying also, make sure we're spreading that message about the advocacy part. Educate, the thinking advisor. We're trying to help to distinguish our advisors, you know, that if you are a NAIFA member, not only are you an advisor you can trust, but you're a thinking advisor, right? This is very different than being like just a salesperson with a pitch. You know, our advisors do extra research. They take extra care. They're always trying to accelerate. They're always trying to improve. They're always getting continuous education. And that's not just in their practice, that's in every angle of their life. So what I've done since I've been in my time here at NAIFA in the last year is I've spent as much time as I can with our members absorbing and understanding them and studying them and looking at the data and understanding who are these people. Who is our next member? What is the commonality in our membership? And the commonality is that these are people that are extremely purposeful, extremely planned, extremely competitive, you know, extremely, but not from a cheating standpoint. They want to earn it. Meritocracy is very big to us. So they want to think and they want to be around like-minded people who also think. And that's why when you actually get to a NAIFA meeting, there's kind of a vibration. Right? People are excited, like they really get into it, right? That's why we have the flag ceremony. And, you know, you get excited about your state. And when you say the Pledge of Allegiance, it means something to you. Those are our people. That's our Main Street USA piece. So we're gonna bring, you know, we're also overhauling the brand. That emotional piece of what it is to be an American protectorate of a community and what it means to be that person to families and to businesses is something we haven't touched on enough. Right? But our advisors, there's something different about them. They're not one and done. They're always continuously trying to up their game, whether it's their golf game, whether it's their community service game, whatever game it is, they're high achievers. We are the definition of the all-American boy or girl, right? And that all-American blueprint has nothing to do with age, gender, race. It's pervasive. right? It's pervasive across. We just have to find our people. So that's the piece about our education. So our education it's for the people who are always trying to accelerate their game and amplify and, keep the saw sharp. So we have new things that are out there we didn't have before. One of them, so one big shift, one big pivot is that in order to gain new members, we have to be able to attract prospects. And of course, I'm talking to an entire group here that understands prospecting. You're always prospecting. Is there ever a time you're like, no, don't need a new client? Like, I'm good with that. I don't need any more prospecting today. It's always on our list. We always have to be doing it. But the problem we had that we had to fill the gap is NAIFA was such a walled garden. Everything was like give us your $660 and we promise it's going to be worth it, right? And that doesn't work with today's consumer. So today's consumer, they have to try before you buy. That's why we used to bring them to meetings, et cetera. But now 70% of the decision is done online without us. Okay, so we have to be there too. So we came out with Professional Pathway. It's an open to everyone tool, self-assessment tool. Absolutely put it on your chapter websites, talk about it, et cetera. What we did with it is make sure that we put it out to non-members as a way to attract them. And it's worked wonderfully. We've gotten about 300 leads off of it. We're working through converting those leads into members. But if you're somebody who says, I want to take an online self-assessment tool to see how I compare to a competency model, the likelihood is you're probably one of our people. Right? That alone is saying, I'm competitive, I'm into self-improvement, I'm interested. Then we came out with NAIFA Live. NAIFA Live we did in January, we did in February, and it's March 21st of this month. Everyone is invited. So we've had such success with it in January and February. We're going to open up to all of NAIFA members this month, okay? And then we're also going to open up to guess who? Prospects, right? Because we can bring them in, and if you're not familiar with NAIFA Live, it's basically we're in a NAIFA Live situation. We have people on site we're talking to a virtual audience, but this allows us to deliver great content in a monthly meeting. People, lots of locals that have dissolved over the last 100 years, they have a way now that they can still be in person, don't have to be financially or legally an entity, but be part of our one great NAIFA and be able to participate with high quality speakers. So already we've started with 4 states, North Dakota, Nebraska, Minnesota, and Iowa. We're kind of the pioneers there. And we've had hundreds of people online, okay? What we need to do is continue to have that model and drive more people who don't know us to get to NAIFA Live. It's a great way because what we do know, and historically, the part that's new is the digital part, but we know that if we've been belly to belly, that people will join because NAIFA members are infectious. We're infectious people. So we just need to have them experience it. And if they can experience it digitally, as we're doing right now, then it will drive the need to actually be in person together, but also you still feel part of a community. Okay, so that's a new aspect that we're putting in to our educational scenario, but it really has huge membership potential. It has even bigger, probably, sponsorship potential, right? So the more that we can put that out there, we have the NAIFA Live event, it gets recorded, it gets archived and on demand, right? We have the ability to say, hey, corporate partners, which you'll hear about in a second, look at all the things that NAIFA's doing. Plus, it's a completely different story than we've ever had before. Okay, so we're really innovating at a fast clip. So that's where the education piece comes in. Oh, here we go. And so the ability to say to a local, I'm going to give you a scenario of NAIFA Amarillo. So NAIFA Amarillo came to me, and they're very sad-faced, and they feel just not good about QME. Just not good. You know, they're very upset. They're no longer a separate entity, but they're NAIFA Amarillo. They're not NAIFA Dallas. They're not NAIFA, Houston. They're Amarillo, and they want to be Amarillo, and we want you to be Amarillo. Because you know why? That's interesting. That's exciting. I want to go to NAIFA Live and have a little blurb of fun fact about NAIFA Amarillo, right? Because isn't that interesting? That's like it's like watching our flag ceremony. People is peeing. You're like, I didn't know that was a state slogan. Like, that's interesting. The Pelican State. We're learning about our overall. We're getting out of our bubble and learning about who we are NAIFA nationally and how big of a spread we have. So we can say to NAIFA Amarillo, hey, NAIFA Amarillo, listen. So Brent Hill calls me up, he's incoming, and he says, are you telling me we could still meet together if we wanted, We could be this watch party location, and then we could actually then tune in and see a speaker somewhere else. But in our NAIFA Amarillo situation, we have a sign that says NAIFA Amarillo. We have whatever we want, cups and napkins. Like, yes, you can be NAIFA Amarillo. And we can have a host whose name is Zach, who can say, hey, welcome everybody at NAIFA Amarillo. NAIFA Amarillo, woo! We can compete. Who's got the best watch party location? It can be quite a bit of fun. But this NAIFA Live New Monthly Meeting has really opened the door to allow us to do all sorts of new things that we haven't done before, because we're letting technology lead the way, right? So if we can harness the technology, if we can harness the data that technology provides us, it gives us a pretty clear roadmap as to who we should target, and also early warning indicators about who might be lapsing, right? So that's a new piece that we're really trying to drive at National. Third part of the membership promise is the ability to differentiate. This is where we have the trusted advisor. This is our self-actualized advisor who is now found on Advisors You Can Trust. So differentiate is really, how can we think about it this way? Instead of saying members need to pay us, we need members. We're saying, how do we serve the members? How do we serve you best? What can we do at NAIFA National, at NAIFA Name Your State, at NAIFA Name Your Local? What can we do that no one else can do, right? So I'm here, I'm in my business, I'm trying to grow my insurance agency, I'm trying to grow my financial services planning business, and I'm doing what? I'm putting ads in local papers, I'm trying to put up my billboard on Exit 5, I've got my ads running in whatever, all the church circulars and the bulletins, and I'm doing everything I can. I'm buying tables at the high school Casino Royale night. I'm doing whatever I can, right, to get my name out there and to develop leads. Isn't this what our advisors are doing all the time? All the time. It would really help if, like, I'm there in Westerville, Ohio. It would really help if NAIFA National did a story on me on Advisor Today and said, hey, let's talk about Suzanne Carowin's work in Westerville, Ohio, right? Or Andrea Nemec, who's my advisor. Wouldn't that help her? Couldn't she say to all of her clients, hey, guess what? I'd like to pass out, I just got mentioned and recognized at NAIFA National or at my state level. Being recognized at your state level is huge. Being recognized at national level, huge, right? So we can do that instantly and help to, again, increase the authenticity, the credibility of our advisors. That's something we can do, and we can go direct to consumer to do it. We've never done that before. Why not us? Why don't we go direct to consumer and say, we are going to showcase why you need to go to Advisors You Can Trust to find one of our advisors. Now, if I'm out in the field and I'm talking to a non-member, I'm like, well, you only get onto this list if what? Got to be in good standing as a NAIFA member, right? So we're going to drive more consumers to the site. We're going to have more consumer content talking about why you need an advisor you can trust. Okay, we have to say to people, you got to be on this list. You're not on this list. It's like the Good Housekeeping seal of approval list. You're not on there. What are you doing? How are you doing? That's a disservice to your own business. Okay, so we can add these things in very easily for almost zero cost other than sweat equity at NAIFA National. And we can do this at the state level too. And we can tell those stories. Okay, new materials to support this advocate, educate, differentiate. We are pushing this out at an alarmingly fast rate, but it's not as fast as our field wants it. So I want to thank you for that. I hate it, but I love it, getting emails like, hey, do you have a brochure on that? Okay, we are so paper focused. I know we're paper focused, but we have to back off the paper as we get to be more digital, okay? We got to really start talking about who we're trying to target. We're targeting people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. We have to understand people in depth in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. How do they communicate? How will we communicate? What do we talk about? 20s, 30s, 40s, okay? Most of it is not paper-based. So I know we have this, and we're also at National trying to do things like make the join process as easy as possible, as seamless as possible. Pull out your phone and just sign up right there, because that's how people buy, right? So we're doing everything we can to be able to do that as quickly as possible. If you're not aware, there's a new join form online. So same place it always was, but you don't have to first put in your number to find out, like, were you ever in there before. It's just straight up join, okay? We have new price, one price now. It makes it much easier. And then we will have different The biz dev team will talk about different corporate partner pages as well. But just know that these things exist. We're going to put them out there so you can go ahead and get them yourself. And so we'll add this to the leadership page for new kits. And we're also moving to an online store, new one for membership materials. Okay? So that's going to consolidate. It's going to allow us to centralize and allow you to speed it up. So you don't have to go and have, you can still, but you don't necessarily have to go and have all your own, pull-up banners that you're finding out and printers, et cetera. Why don't we just use our massive buying power of having 25,000 people behind us to say, and having 50 chapters and 40 locals to just move as one? Wouldn't that make sense? That make a ton of sense. Then we can all be quick to market because it's all about speed to market now. Okay, one last thing with that differentiate. I was talking about, wouldn't it make sense that we talk about the work that they're doing in their local communities? You know who loves community type of work or community types of stories? The media. The media loves good, feel-good community stories. One of the things that was happening as a corollary is that our communications team put out a survey called they put out a survey to find out definitively, can we prove that our members are the closest to the consumer? Right? That our members are the ones who really serve kind of mid-market, middle America. And the survey came back saying, actually saying definitively, yes, we can say that. We just released a big press release, the whole, the article's out there on our site, et cetera. You can see there's infographics, but the point being is we're gonna have more and more and more of this story coming, and we're gonna call it Main Street USA. That's who we are. We are gonna put a stake in the ground and say no other association but us is Main Street USA. We have to have a differentiator, NAIFA. That's ours. That's who we are, right? And we better have the biggest and the best come up to the hill to say, you know what? We're Main Street USA. What do congressional leaders care about more than anything? Constituents of Main Street USA. So who are we going to represent? That's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to start having a campaign. One of the things you guys might be familiar that we had the Solution Center for the last 2 years or so. We just literally rebranded it to Main Street USA. And you know what we're going to put up there? Nothing but love 'em up articles about the good work that our members are doing in communities. Because we have no place for that. And we need to have some fun, and we need to celebrate our successes, just like we do when we get into a NAIFA meeting and we're sharing information. We're like, oh yeah, I'm just doing X, Y, and Z, and I'm at Kiwanis Club, and oh, I'm in Rotary, and all the other things we're doing. We never have a place to celebrate it, to say, you know what, the Chapman Insurance Group is just, just did a sponsorship at X, Y, and Z. We should be able to talk about that and celebrate it. And then those people can point to us and our stuff, and we can point to them, and then NAIFA comes up in digital, and all of a sudden we're everywhere, right? So that's what we want to do with Main Street USA. And it's fun and exciting, and it's something, again, that everybody can participate in. We also want to do, of course, you're hearing more and more of we got to go digital. So we are in the process of digitally transforming NAIFA to make sure that we are using every method possible to get to people we don't know. And again, if we're targeting people in our 20s, 30s, 40s, right? What's maybe the best way to get to them? Social media is probably right there at the top. It's cheapest, it's fastest, and we can measure it. And you know what our advisors like to do more than anything? Have real numbers. What's the actual ROI? So we need to go digital so we have insights on the number. So we're doing a lot more with that. So here is an email signature badge that we can put in. I know that for many of us, we can't use it because it might not go through compliance, or we can go and put it into compliance now. The email is going to go out today, but this is for people who've already registered for congressional conference. Because one of the things I heard is they tell their clients over and over, hey, listen, I'm not going to be in on May 14th and 15th because I'm going to Washington, D.C. to protect you, right? Protect me? Yes, ma'am. I'm going to Capitol Hill to talk about our little community in wherever it is that we live, USA. So we want to make sure that people are understanding that, and we're making sure that it's consistent, right? And we should be proud. I mean, that's a big deal to go to Washington, D.C. to go and represent your Main Street. Like, what's your Main Street? So we're using that NAIFA Proud tag all over the place. Okay, so moving on. Since last year or so, we've been talking about this 4-layer growth model of how are we going to grow NAIFA. And the 4-layer strategy includes, as Dennis said, corporate partners, agency program, chapters and locals, and direct individuals. Okay? And we're going to talk about that now in turn of how to do that. Before we do that, I just wanted to level set. Okay, so we're now looking, I'm just going to do it quickly. We're now looking at cancellations by birth year. So this is for 2018. So I took everybody who's canceled. That means they definitively called in and said, cancel my membership. Okay, so there's a lot of people that are just maybe just lapsed. They never called us again. We don't know. But these are people who said, we have a set of data to say we canceled our membership. Great. Let's look at now, are they good cancels or bad cancels? That's the question, right? And we need to understand if we're not doing retention, if the boat is always leaking, right, we can't move forward because we're always getting pulled back. Make sense? So we have to both grow, and then at the same time we have to shore up any leaks. That's been our problem. We're always in a negative total there. So we can't ever get to net zero and grow because we're losing so much out the back. But we have to say, is it bad loss, or is it like okay loss so we could change our model to say, you know, that makes sense. Currently, the NAIFA model of membership has the assumption that you are going to be a NAIFA member in perpetuity and that you never die. And so I thought maybe we should use the insurance model and say death is a certainty, right? Let's make sure we have a death as a certainty. And then also we should probably come up with what's a realistic time frame that people would be a NAIFA member. You know, to the person, I had one guy tell me, Suzanne, I have been a member for 45 years. I've had 3 wives, 1 NAIFA membership. I had another guy say to me, I'm 80 years old, I've been a member for 50 years. What's the right price for membership? You know, it's like, wow, I mean, that's incredible. So we got to change our thinking and say, let's reward those who stayed so long. And let's also make sure that we're putting our attention to these years 0 to 3, right? To make sure that we get them to be we need the next 30-year members. We need those people. We don't want just churn. So if we look at cancellation by birth year, I'm going to cut to the chase. If we look at the big numbers, or if we look at the very tiny number, we have 8 people that were born between 1930 and 1940. 1930, okay? I mean, again, that's okay that they canceled. We've got 66 people born between 1941 and 1950, 179 between 1951 and 1960, etc. These aren't bad cancels. These are people who just want to retire. They're just probably done with their career. That's okay. That's okay. I mean, that's okay. What we do need to worry about is the people that are canceling who were born between 1981 and 1990, right? Why is that number so high? Do we not have the right product mix? Do we not have the right stuff? We have to start thinking that way, okay? Here's cancellations by years of service. Again, that big bar over to the right, 28 plus years of service. You can see we have something that's happening. You know, years 0, 1, 2, and 3 are always, any association is going to be problem years. But what concerns me is years 4 to 6. Those should be sweet spot years. That's the year you transition to saying, I want to go into volunteer leadership. I want to start going to congressional conference, whatever might happen. So 4 to 6 and 10 to 18 are the 2 parts that's the problem right there. So we either don't have the right product mix, we don't have the right people, you know, something's wrong, but we need to, it's crying out, investigate me, right? And of course we need to do everything we can for 0 to 3. Good news. Now we're looking at 2019. 2019, this is year over year, apples to apples from January 2018 to January 2019, February to February. March right now, we're not done with March. Right now last March we had 75 new members. Right now we're about 67, so we need to exceed that. But look at the dark blue bar, right? So we are growing, we're growing. But we can't say we're growing overall because we're losing all these people at the back. But I want to focus on the growth part. So let's just definitively say it. We are beating our numbers from last year. And not by a little, by a good amount. And that's largely because we were able to get in the field, and then our chapters and locals have been awesome in starting to spread that message. Another kind of thing that's helped us is the Advisor Ambassador Program. So the 4 growth model, this is the direct to individual. So I'm just going to talk about this piece as my last thing, excuse me, before I hand it over to the corporate partners to talk about that. But the Advisor Ambassador Program is again leveraging technology to really showcase and make accessible some of our other members, primarily GATS, right? We actually have one of our ambassadors in the room as we speak, as Brian Haney, who's been awesome in delivering a couple of these. So the Advisor Ambassador Program started in October. It's a 4-week program. It's completely free. It's we originally had it just for prospects. 4 weeks, same topic. The topics kind of range from, prospecting to optimizing cash flow, but it's the same 4 topics, but every month the speakers change. Awesome opportunity for YATS to get in front of people and present. We record it, we archive it, we can use that for additional lead generation. And what we do is for the people who register and go through all 4 weeks, we track them, and then we give them a certificate. It's signed by Jill Judd and Kevin Mayo. They can put it on LinkedIn, they can do whatever. But the program is, it's scalable and YAT driven, because we want to attract 20s, 30s, 40s. I need somebody who's high energy, who's really into their career, who remembers what it's like to be in the kind of gutting it out years, who's excited about it, who wants to attract new people to us. So the YATs are perfect. They're like an untapped resource that we need to have. So one of the things we're going to ask you, if you don't have a YAT chair, if you don't have a YAT program, let's work together to get one, okay? Because YATs are infectious, and we have a whole new crop of people out on the earth that we need to have as NAIFA members. The millennial generation is the biggest generation we've ever had in the history of mankind. It's the biggest generation. We have 4 generations in the workforce right now. Millennials took over as the #1 generation in the workforce. Does anybody know what year? 2015. So it's already 4 years in. That is the future. The YATs are our next presidents. They are our next, that is our association. So we need to be very, very close with them to make sure that this is YAT driven, okay? Advisor Ambassador also helps us prime the pump for leadership and engagement. We can also make sure that the people we're bringing in are the right people, that we're not going to lead to a ton of churn. Just getting members in the door, that's not what we want to do. We want to get them in the door. We want the right people, and we want them to stay. Right? That's a very different kind of directive of what we need to do. So anyway, we run this Advisor Ambassador program each week. We ran it in October, we ran it in November, we took December off, then we ran it in January, February, and we're underway. So it was really, really, this is nickel dime. We spent $2,000 totally on the entire program, and from it we've netted 19 new members. We really started just marketing it for the March class. So our March, April, and May classes all have over 250 people in them. Okay? So let's look at, if we have a 30% close rate on 250 people, we're starting to churn. We're starting to, let's go. So that's having a lot of early success without us having done a tremendous amount. It's really been the YATs who've been the stars of the whole program. Okay, we're gonna leave it there for me, and I'm gonna introduce Elena Philo and Brian Steiner to come and talk about corporate partners and talk about that next layer of our strategy.
Excellent. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you, Brian.
And we appreciate everyone participating. It's so awesome to have, obviously, the folks here in the national office, but so many of you in our leadership throughout the country participating and helping really drive positive change throughout NAIFA and throughout our organization. It's starting to pay a tremendous amount in dividends. With all our strategic change, groups that have been watching us fairly closely have been our corporate partners. All of the companies and groups that you all do your business through. And some have supported us all along the way in varying levels. Some had previously withdrawn support. Some weren't engaged at all. And really our focus in our department was created just over 3 years ago, really when the QME process really kind of got started, was really to focus our attentions on strengthening our relationships with the companies at the C-suite and senior level leadership, and identifying ways that NAIFA can be a better resource for them, delivering better value, getting their folks engaged, understanding their pain points, and trying to find ways to get them more involved to support us financially and from a membership perspective. And it's been a challenging road, but the great news is NAIFA has always had a fantastic story to tell. We just needed to do a better job of telling it. And we're now opening the doors and having the opportunities to sit down with the CEOs of these organizations and the senior leadership in getting them to really take a step into the NAIFA pool, and those things are starting to pay off. A lot of questions that we get are, hey, when I started in this business, and you look back to the New York Lifes and the Northwestern Mutuals and the Mass Mutuals and really the traditional mutual companies, unfortunately, the days of, hey, I passed my licensing exam, I'm contracted with New York Life, here's your NAIFA application that goes hand in hand. If we could get back to those days, I would, trust me, every day I wake up and I think about it. But the reality is there are a number of organizations that are out there now, not necessarily that compete with NAIFA, but there are other groups, and companies have unfortunately gotten away from doing that. And they don't pay for memberships. And in most instances, they're not paying for memberships at other organizations either. They're making them available and they provide some information in some cases, but they say, hey, we encourage you to join a professional association, go figure out which one it is. Now, we're obviously trying to work hard to overcome that and get back to the days of you need to join. But those days at the moment are not realistic, but we're working very hard to do that. Often other questions we get, can't we just do ledger deduction? Fortunately, New York Life still does ledger deduction. There are some, it's not as easy as just having a company turn it on. We're having those conversations every day, and we are working close, and we are very close to having a few other organizations move to that model. I don't want you to think those conversations aren't happening. It's just those things don't happen necessarily at the flip of a switch and overnight. And our company's taking our calls. I think they are.
I can jump in on this one as well. I can say some of that is due in part to volunteers like you that help pave the way for us and also help make those introductions and how important those things are. But they are taking our calls. They are interested in the NAIFA story and what is going on and all the changes that we've seen over this past year. So we're definitely getting the right people on the phone. We're getting the right meetings in place. We're getting the opportunity to really share some of the cool stuff that we're doing here at NAIFA. So unequivocally, yes, they're starting to take our calls.
And the reason that started to happen isn't necessarily isolated to just Elena and myself, but it is the hard work of all of the volunteers that are passionate about NAIFA and this industry. Our board has done a fantastic job on the national level into opening doors and making connections at their companies. I look at a Keith Gillies and what Emeritus has done for us over recent years of engagement. Larry Holzberg and Guardian. Guardian's an organization that really hasn't supported us from a corporate, from a sponsorship or partnership perspective in at least the number of years that I've been here. And Larry really put his nose down, drove straight down to their office and coordinated some meetings. And they've made a significant contribution to our NAIFA Capital 50 Fund, which is our state-based advocacy program. We're in the midst right now. We have meetings set up next week with a lot of their senior level management to talk about how do we get to their field, working with their agency managers and working with our team, John Spear here, who's going to be talking in a little bit about setting up agency presentations and developing marketing strategies that will be going out to their field force to put NAIFA in front of their agents and advisors on a much more regular basis, as opposed to an endorsement letter that's great but maybe only goes out once, or something that sits static on an intranet. We are looking to build some continuity around an actual comprehensive marketing strategy that really allows us to track results, provide metrics back, give them a sense of who's engaged, who isn't. If you're making an investment in a program, well, let's get your people involved. And again, these things are all starting to take shape, and it can be done on our own, but when the wheels are greased, when we have folks that are doing business through these companies and working in tandem and collaboratively, those things happen a lot faster, they happen a lot more effectively, and really we all benefit. Again, from our biz dev team, and we had a reorg here recently at NAIFA National. Elena and myself and another gentleman, Brian Money, who is on a separate call, have been working created and been working with the biz dev team here at NAIFA National since I came on board. Recently, with Suzanne and some of the folks from the membership team, we reorged and we've created membership marketing and biz dev. And we are trying to work more collaboratively with all of the departments within NAIFA National to coordinate messaging. There's a lot of moving parts, especially with all of the strategic change that we've gone through. And we're really trying to be the driving force for continuity and messaging throughout the staff up here, but then also what goes out to you guys at the state and the large local chapter levels. again, we've kind of went over this a little bit as far as the purpose of our team is really to build and strengthen our corporate relationships. You know, there is a component of corporate support that goes into industry goodwill. But again, so much everything now is tracked to ROI and metrics and what am I getting out of it? And we actually have the framework now, I think, to identify and track and put together a much more convincing argument with these companies for them to see the value in NAIFA, for them to get involved in NAIFA, and for them to support and get their people to join. This past year, again, we've made some great strides with a number of companies. I referenced a few with Emeritus and Guardian. You know, through the QME process, New York Life and Northwestern Mutual specifically, we're very engaged and part of our strategic planning process. We've always maintained strong relationships with our government relation teams, but we are now starting to come back in favor with them in a corporate perspective. But also these changes have opened new doors within the independent distribution channels, groups that we hadn't really engaged with before. And again, from a marketing perspective and a member recruitment perspective, when a message goes out through more of a career agency model, it obviously gets to all the folks in the field, and at least it's a straight message. We know they get it. As more and more agents are working more in an independent capacity, that's a tougher road. That's a tougher group to navigate and track down. So we've been really focused in on working with, again, groups like One America, Lincoln, Hancock, Prudential. We're working with organizations like NAILBA and the broker general agency groups to start expanding our reach and developing relationships with those groups, to start engaging with them and promoting, understanding NAIFA, how they can get involved, what the value is. We're really tip of the iceberg, but there's a lot of really good things that have been done or and currently in process. Our goals, our main goals, money.
In relationships.
In relationships, but obviously when we get the companies to support us financially, it really also sends a message directly to their field that, hey, we're investing in NAIFA. One of the challenges we had, and with some of the companies that maybe withdrew support in the past, when I look back to 3 or 4 years ago, was when the companies weren't showing up on, the screens at general sessions or in some of the, the websites or at the congressional conference. They were asking, well, if my company's not supporting it, is this something that I should support? It puts things in question. And I don't know that was necessarily those corporate decisions, that was their intent. But it created a narrative that, we had to overcome, and it created some obstacles. But we are starting to develop a scalable partner program that gets companies engaged how they want to engage with NAIFA. If they want to support a conference, and that's just where it starts and stops, we're happy to do that. But we really want to identify ways to engage with these companies across multiple platforms. Are they engaged in advocacy? Are they coming to P+P? Are there key states or demographics or regions that they have more interest in? How do we target that? We have a corporate partner that's not insurance related at all, and Sallie Mae. Sallie Mae came on board through, again, one of our trustees, Brock Jolly, that helped coordinate that. They've been very supportive of us from a national level, helped done some different scholarship type programs for incoming college students that we've done in collaboration. But they've also been very strategic. They just participated, Dan, with NAIFA Greater Washington. They were visible in NAIFA Iowa, NAIFA Florida, NAIFA Texas as key demographics that they're interested in. We have the ability now to coordinate that. And because we're sharing information and we are one NAIFA, if you're reaching out, we can help set those things up to bring new faces, new money, new ideas to programs all across the country. So we're starting to see companies, again, engage in multiple capacities. And Suzanne had referenced NAIFA Live. We are so tip of the iceberg with this. Very excited to roll it out. She had referenced hundreds participated. I think we had almost 500 NAIFA members participate in the last NAIFA Live through 4 states. That's awesome. It's awesome. And we had high-profile speakers that maybe some of the areas like North Dakota or some of the remote places may not traditionally have access to. And we have a platform now to provide that access, but also still create an intimate feel, even though it's virtual in some capacities. And then you've got some of the stickler agencies where they don't like their folks to necessarily come to NAIFA meetings. They love the idea of advocacy and they love the idea, but they're also a little sensitive to their folks drinking some other Kool-Aid. This is a great way for them to get value, not necessarily have to be as active in person, but still really have access to great stuff. And we're really just now starting to understand how we're going to be able to monetize that. And that's going to create a tremendous, purposeful, non-dues revenue stream that I think is going to help open up some new doors, provide that next wave of NAIFA speakers, which I think will go beyond NAIFA Live and NAIFA National and probably be regular within the state events and the large local events moving forward. So very, very, very excited about that. Tons and tons of possibilities. And I know there's several of you out there. We are available and we want to help you. So if there are questions, concerns, programs that you're doing locally or at the state level that we may not know about that are working, gosh, you got to let us know. Because if there's a blueprint out there that we don't know about, but it's producing results, we want to integrate that in our strategy. And it's not to say that everything that we're doing is perfect. So we want to know what's working so that we can integrate it and be as effective and valuable to everyone here at the association as we could be. So.
Hey, there is a question.
Sure.
So one of the people that's online, they said that all of this sounds great. It sounds like it's a long-term strategy. Do you have anything you can kind of cite as a short-term win or something that's really happened that we have some more tangible metrics on it?
Sure. For a lot of these, and again, this site looks to the types of partner programs, but I will use Mutual of Omaha as the most recent example. Mutual of Omaha is an organization that I had not engaged with prior and trying. We've had some high-level meetings with them with not a lot of traction. Finally, the rubber met the road and we were able to connect with the right folks. And they came on board in two different capacities. They're supporting us from an advocacy perspective. They made a significant contribution to the congressional conference, something that they had not been a part of before, with the commitment to bring a number of their leadership and advisors to Washington. Another division within Mutual of Omaha is also invested in another initiative, which is our Limited and Extended Care Planning Center. It's a long-term care resource platform that we're launching, and they made a founding sponsor a very heavy investment into that. Dollars are great. What happens from there? Their agency, their head of agency has worked with us. We did an agency presentation virtually to all of their field. We have set up a corporate landing page that allows their agents to go through and join NAIFA at a preferred corporate rate. They are working with
me. They're continuing to cross-promote. They've posted on Twitter our relationship. They've promoted our different trustees and the relationships that we have that way. So Mutual of Omaha has been very much on fire about the relationship that they have built with NAIFA. And they're continuing to help us promote membership, to continue to grow within Mutual of Omaha, but also NAIFA as a whole, bringing the message that what NAIFA is doing and how membership really benefits them individually. Yeah. So we've had a really, really great resounding opportunity to help stimulate the market, work within their own field force, but also continue to grow membership and awareness of NAIFA and the relationship we have with Mutual of Omaha. Tip of the iceberg, it's only going to keep growing.
Yeah, and that's new. Again, that's an entirely new initiative. That wasn't, again, we are working with our traditional partners. When I say traditional, those that have the larger membership presence, to obviously do as best we can to get them to promote. But that was just a recent win that has generated some really good traction within a company that we had otherwise not worked. They're going to be a congressional conference. They're going to be at P+P. We are going to be coordinating with them a strategy to go out to the field to work with their field leaders and do agency presentations.
We're going to be at their National Sales Symposium.
They've invited us to their National Sales Symposium, where we're going to be doing an advocacy presentation. And that's the type of engagement that we want to have with every carrier that's out there. And so that's just an example of some new blood and some opportunities to spread our wings beyond some of our traditional plans. Just trying to.
Working partnerships. These are what we would call our partners in progress. We'll call them that at this point. These are the organizations that we don't have a formal agreement in place with. We're still dating at this point. We're still having conversations.
That's a good way to put it. We're dating.
We're dating them at this point, seeing how it works. Are we a good fit for each other? But we're really continuing to build those relationships, and that's a key part. So when we talk about the financial goals, yes, we have those, but we also want to continue promoting our brand. We want to continue talking about what NAIFA has been doing, and really making sure the narrative that's out there is the right one about what NAIFA has been doing. So that's part of this Partners in Progress. So AXA is a great example of that.
I would agree.
We have a great relationship with them. They are willing to promote. They're willing to promote NAIFA. They're willing to help kind of filter out some of the communication pieces and the cool stuff that we have out to their field force. But we don't have a formal partnership in place. We don't have something that's actually like a signed agreement with them. But they're doing it. They're doing it, and they're willing to do it, and they've always been willing to engage with us and share the message out. So this is a great example, and these are the types of organizations that we're continuing to build and kind of bring into the NAIFA fold as we can.
And to add to that, the list of our existing corporate partnerships, specifically our membership programs that we have with a number of companies, we will make available to you in a quick access, so that as you're out in the field, and depending on who you're talking to, you have the appropriate resources to understand if there is a program in place for that person or for that agent or advisor to take advantage of. But also, AXA as an example. We have some great relationships, and they are doing some things from a marketing perspective. But it would help if we had some champions in the field to help identify NAIFA leaders or active NAIFA members who are AXA folks that are really moving the meter. They can help open some doors and put some pressure on them to maybe engage a little differently, or make an investment in an event, or promote membership in a different capacity. So that's another thing that we're leaning on the field to help identify those folks and help connect those dots so that we can build those appropriate strategic relationships.
And just to jump back real quick on the formal partnerships that we have in place, we do have typically preferred membership rates with them. So that gives them, with those commitments to us and with those agreements that we have in place, to Brian's point previously, we have a more comprehensive partnership in place. And it does include a little bit of a preferred rate on their dues. So anybody that rolls up under those organizations, they can go through a joint landing page. They can join that way, and they're going to get a discounted membership through NAIFA.
Yeah. And in fact, this is just a sample of a landing page that we did with Guardian, and this is just a snapshot. But essentially, it's a shared page between us and them that provides a link for those folks to join at that corporate rate. But it's a consolidated, and obviously this is just a screenshot of it, but it allows us to do a lot of promotion on the key elements of NAIFA that we think are most important. These are very flexible and dynamic pages. So if there's a specific initiative that we have in place with that company that's more time sensitive, whether it's related to congressional conference or P+P or certain state events, we have the ability to update those on the fly pretty seamlessly. And also, we can fully track this. So as their agents and advisors are on the page, we have the ability to identify who's there, what they click on, what they read. And if they didn't join, if we capture information, we have the ability now to do some drip marketing and things to them ongoing, and actually try to foster them, to bring them to the finish line and actually join NAIFA.
All right. This is where we need you. This is where, if you, to Brian's point, you have those relationships in place, or you have maybe at the local or the state level, you've been working with specific organizations that we don't have a formal partnership in place. We need to hear about that. We need to find out what you've been working on, what the conversations have been, and if there's a way for us to kind of come in and help get us to the corporate level as well, where we can also start building something at a corporate level, build that relationship, and hopefully ease some of the burden on you all as well to make it a little bit easier.
Yeah. And add to that too, it goes beyond, I know that we're in a growth summit, this is about membership more, but you guys do a lot of traveling, you're at a lot of events. If you are seeing exhibitors and sponsors at events that you're participating in that you may not have seen at other NAFA events, please bring that to us. We are, again, always trying to diversify who our partners are, whether it's an exhibitor or a member benefit provider, things of that nature. We want to deliver the best value that we can to our membership and the membership prospects. And we need that help because we're out and about quite a bit. But I know that there's a lot of organizations out there that engage with NAFA at a local or state level that may not participate nationally. And that may be because they're regionally based or depending on the geographics, but there could be opportunities to do things with them more comprehensively, whether it's at our national conference or whether it's through thought leadership or this NAFA Live platform or different white papers or action reports, or there's some cool like social media things that we can do. We want to have those conversations. We're available to have those conversations, but we need you to help tee or identify those opportunities. So I encourage you all to reach out to us when that happens. We're here to be a resource for you, so please use us. Thank you. And all right, we're gonna transition a little. I guess we're still on. Again, and I referenced this a little bit. Getting out of the traditional insurance companies themselves, we are making a concerted effort. Brian Money, the program manager who is listed, this is really where he's focusing a lot of his attention, is we are trying to strengthen and build our relationships within the independent channels, wholesalers, broker dealers, IMOs, FMOs. We have got some real opportunities with collaboration with NAILBA, which is the Independent Life Brokerage Association. They've always supported, we've always done some collaborative things, but we're working closer to a more comprehensive arrangement. I can't get into too deep a detail right now, but their members are all of the groups above, the IMOs, the FMOs, and the BGAs. And obviously, I think there's opportunities for us to engage with those groups from an advocacy perspective, but providing them with education and training and thought leadership helps them differentiate to the independent agent to work through them. And we are now starting to build up those relationships. So you're going to see a lot more of those folks participating in our events and engaged. Broker dealers, we have an active relationship with Cambridge Investment Research. We're working with the Advisor Group, which is a conglomerate of multiple BDs, the Leaders Group, LPL, we've met with. So there's a number of organizations that historically have not been folks that shame on us, I guess, but we haven't really targeted, but that's all starting to change, and really excited about those opportunities, especially as the industry is shifting more and more towards, or at least we're seeing it shift towards more independent distribution. We need to be a part of it. And in order for us to provide value in that space, we need to have the appropriate partnerships to understand what we need to deliver and when. So again, this is an area that if there's relationships out there, I encourage you to reach out to us, help connect some dots. Happy to have some conversations, and ultimately we can see where those opportunities go. And we're going to thank you for the time.
Before we leave, though, do you have more questions?
No, I was just going to say, I think I mistakenly, we should have taken a break. Why don't we take a break now?
We're going to take a short break. Be patient. Have a cup of coffee, and then John Spear is going to talk about our agency program initiatives. We've got some really cool stuff in the pipe, so excited to share. So if everyone can just hang tight.
10 minutes?
We'll
10
talk
minutes.
and
Perfect.
reconnect in
Thank
10.
you all.
Thank you. logo's bigger too.
Hello, everyone. I think there's probably a fair number of you out there who know me. I'm Jonathan Spear. I'm the Director of Membership, and now I've got a title upgrade, I guess. I'm Director of Membership and Agency Programs here, so we're going to talk about the agency program. But before we do that, I want to introduce Brian Money, the man we mentioned just a little earlier a few different times. He was actually on a couple of calls, busy doing some stuff about all that stuff we were talking about, getting some corporate partners, especially in the independent space. Brian, anything you want to add to what we've been talking about so far?
Just some success that we've had. I travel almost as much as Brian does. He's definitely on the road quite a bit more than I am. But basically, some of the stuff that we have done, we were talking about what immediate success that we had. When it comes to groups like the Advisor Group or American National, from both the multi-line and the independent side, these are groups that, we shot one email and they said, we would love to have NAIFA attend. So I know Brian Holtz is out there, and he and I were at our booth. We were in Anaheim at the Advisor Group conference, and we turned probably 10 members just because we were there. So it's really telling the right narrative to all these groups that, NAIFA is not just advocacy for, historically life insurance, whereas FSI or some of the other groups that are out there are more on the security side. What we do is education. What we do is we provide an atmosphere for encouragement and advancement in the industry. So it's really telling that narrative. And when it comes to groups, like I mentioned, the Advisor Group, Lincoln Financial, all the groups we don't have mentioned, oftentimes the interest is out there. There's a lot of folks in our membership that are really interested in getting engaged. So please continue to spread the word. Please continue to do what you guys are doing. Be a NAIFA champion and help us kind of turn some of these folks into a new partner. But that's pretty much all I got.
Awesome.
So
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
All right. Good stuff. So now let's talk about this agency program piece. For the last couple of years, I guess I just looked at the calendar the other day. I'm closing in on 3 years here at NAIFA. And for the last several years, a lot of you have watched me on screen sort of in a similar situation like this and telling people, let's go recruit, let's go get members. We still obviously are doing lots of that. That's not changing. We still need everybody out in the field to be recruiting whenever it becomes a possibility. But now that we've got this new presentation, now that we've got this new messaging, this advocate, educate, differentiate, we really have an opportunity to get back in front of our agencies, combined with the corporate partnership work that the BizDev group is doing. And we have an opportunity to do this sort of top-down and bottom-up thing at the same time. And where it meets in the middle really is this agency program. And that's what we're going to talk about, because we need to recruit in bunches. I believe Suzanne already mentioned this earlier. It's not that people don't join when we have an opportunity to talk to them. It's that we don't have enough bodies and we don't have enough horsepower out in the field to talk to everybody who we need to join on a one-on-one basis. So we got to start scooping them up in big bunches. And that's what this agency program is all about, right? So at a goal, what we really want to do is figure out a way, a platform, a process, a program that will allow us to do two agency presentations delivered by a state board per month, and one for each of our 40 locals. For those of you who are in the sort of affiliate space out there, if you're a small local out there, please get those too. You're not walled off on this. Anytime we've got an opportunity to set up an agency presentation, let's do that. And those come in a few different flavors, right? If it's a big presentation and it's someplace where we can put a body on site, we will absolutely do that. Look, if we have an opportunity to be in front of 50, 60 members at a time, that's worth getting on a plane, a train, or in the car to go visit. If it's a smaller one, we can do them virtually, just like we're doing right now. The same technology that allows us to have this presentation with you, you can dial up, we can set up the meeting link, and you can dial them up right off of anyone's computer or even a cell phone, as long as you have internet access. And we can do this same kind of presentation right then and there. The point is that we will deliver these whenever and however they are available, and we want to be doing a lot of them with this level of goal. I mean, think about this. If we were doing 2 per month, that would give us 2 per month from the state and 1 per month for the local. It's 12 times 3. So we're talking 36 presentations a year. You're averaging and just from this level here, not even the other stuff we're doing. Now we're talking about a lot of opportunity to talk to a lot of potential NAIFA members or potential NAIFA member prospects, and it becomes a really powerful way of getting our message out there. There will also be a recognition program for this. Let's not pretend that we don't want to make a big deal out of the fact when people are getting these programs scheduled. right? So for those of you who are in the chapter leadership in the chapter leadership, you've heard about the chapter achievement program. There will be points awarded in that chapter achievement program for the social media shout outs. There will be, we'll be doing a lot of stuff on social media, praise of the leadership meetings, any opportunity we have to make noise about the fact that you all out in the field are helping us grow membership, we are going to do. And if I can sort of sidestep just a little bit here, when we talk about that helping us grow membership, I remember the days, when it's like, okay, you out in the field, go get us members, right? That's your job, go get us members. This is a new way of thinking about it. This is a help us help you approach, right? And we're being a little walled off with the presentation right now. We're trying to make sure that we really are aggressive about controlling the message, controlling the brand, making sure that this advocate, educate, differentiate gets out to everyone in the field. Now, we have a few other pieces happening with that as well. One of the things I want to talk about is this NAIFA Gamma Foundation program. And it's worth mentioning, we're also working on we have a similar setup with NAILWA. It just hasn't kicked off yet. We will actually be at the Gamma Lamp Conference later this week. I think we're all leaving on Sunday. There's going to be a contingent of NAIFA folk there. And we're going to be dropping, we're going to have these what are we calling these? I know Gamma's doing their own golden ticket. I guess we have NAIFA's version of the golden ticket thing as well, that talks about this foundation program. And what that program is working with our Gamma member, our sort of crossover here, Gamma members who are also NAIFA members. For every one of the agents that work in those offices, they take your average Gamma, your Gamma member who is an agency manager, every agent that they refer to join in NAIFA, when they've completed a year worth of NAIFA membership, we will make a $100 donation to the Gamma Foundation in their name. So we will do what we can to try and help you identify the people in your area that are Gamma members, that are, that sort of crossover. But that should be a really easy place to start and talk about this program. Hey, Mr. or Ms. Agency Manager, who's also a Gamma member, did you know that NAIFA's got this great new story to tell? We'd love to talk to them about it. And by the way, we're also helping you elevate your status within Gamma and help you with your Gamma membership by making that donation in your name. It's kind of a win-win. We help their foundation, they help our foundation, which is actually our membership numbers as a whole. It's a really great program. When we get the one with NAILWA set up, it will operate very much the same way, and we'll be doing things there as well. That program officially launches this weekend, so look to hear a lot more about that in the next coming days. We're going to be talking about it aggressively at NAIFA, or at the Gamma Conference. NAIFA is not only promoting it, but we're sponsoring a late night event, and also have a session. Was it Tuesday morning, Brian? Tuesday morning. We have a session at Gamma. So if you or anyone you know is going to be there, make sure to stop by and visit us at the booth, at booth 304, and make sure to come to that presentation and that late night event we're sponsoring, and talk up NAIFA, talk up our new story, and talk up this program as well. Now, you've heard me talk about this agency pitch, the agency presentation, and so on. Before we get there, and Dennis is going to do this, Dennis is going to show you sort of his version of it. I want to talk just a little bit about how we, I've mentioned that we do this virtually. I want to make a point that it doesn't just have to be 2 full agencies as far as, getting in front of the 50 or 60 people. One of the things that we're starting to do, and we've had a lot of luck with this right now, is working with people at the state and the local level to just set up sort of small meetings with the GA at an office, with maybe even just a small NAIFA meeting, and do these virtually, because it allows us to tell this story and give this pitch without asking that GA to make a commitment to putting his entire office in front of this presentation when he doesn't know or she doesn't know what is in it. So the opportunities to have this conversation are endless. And the beauty of this, and you'll see when Dennis does it, is that this presentation can sort of grow or expand or have little twists and weaves and bobs depending on the audience that you're talking to, right? Inside that advocate, educate, differentiate structure, if you've got a group that is really focused on our education programs, we can talk about those in more detail, and we can dial back on some of the other stuff. If you've got a group that is really, really focused on advocacy, we can load in more stuff about our recent advocacy wins and talk about that in greater detail. The point is that it's not just a rigid structure. It's a mindset, really. It's a way of talking about who NAIFA is and what we do that is having amazing success. Philly had a meeting that Dennis presented to yesterday. I think we already mentioned this, that we got 15 something,
50% of the
50% of the people. Illinois had one early last week. They got a 30% conversion rate. Oregon got 10 new members at an event where traditionally they get none. Every time we do this pitch to prospects, we get members, and the conversion rates are high. They are good. Dennis, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you show it. And since we've been talking about it, let's let everyone see the dazzle and go from there. Suzanne, do we have any questions before we just jump into Dennis's thing? No, we good?
Okay.
Excellent. Dennis, take it away.
We are getting a lot of excited feedback, though.
I love feedback.
Yeah,
Excited feedback is good.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm going to teach you the presentation the way I do it. I hope you make it your own. The base message of advocate, educate, differentiate must be there. I tell 3 very personal stories during the presentation. I urge you all to put your own stories into it. It makes the sales process much easier. Again, you must focus on the advocate, educate, differentiate. Have fun with it. Throw some humor into it. I have a pretty edgy sense of humor, as most people know. That may not work for everybody. It may not work in front of each group in each area. In Philly, it works real well. A Jersey boy talking to Philly people, they get my sense of humor. So we're going to dive right into it. It's going to be a somewhat abbreviated version, but I hope you get the takeaways, and please send in some questions. If you need to be trained up on this, if you really want to do it, you can speak to Jonathan, jspear@naifa.org, or call me. I'll be happy to spend some time on the phone with you. This works. The genesis came about from me and me getting very frustrated. Years ago, I used the standard PowerPoint, the 623 slides that was sent down to me, and I'd go out and do this program and go through the slides, and at the end of the presentation, I'd put myself to sleep. I got rid of it all. And I also realized that the one part of the message was not resonating. No one was buying it. People who were inside NAIFA understood the advocate portion, but those who were outside did not. I began changing it. It evolved, and then with the help of the NAIFA staff, it came out to be educate, advocate, educate, differentiate. True story. My little own local in New Jersey had about 42 members. Our executive director came to me and said, Dennis, I think it's time to close it. Like, no, give me a chance. And over a 7-year period, those 42 grew to 126 members based on this presentation. 6 out of 7 years, we had growth. We're now part of One NAIFA, which I'm very proud of, so I'm going to dive into the presentation. Please send in your questions. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to talk to you about a promise that NAIFA will make to each member and non-member in this audience. And I'm going to back that up with my own personal promise. We promise to advocate for you, to educate you, and differentiate you. Before I get into the meat of the presentation, I'd like to tell you a very personal story. Actually, I'm going to tell you 3 during the meeting. I am not a fiduciary. Therefore, I do not have to act in my client's best interests. I hope you all learn that phrase, because in many state legislatures, you will be required to say that when you meet a client, and prior to an application, they're going to have to sign a statement saying that you sent it. How do you feel about that? Can you repeat that phrase back to me? NAIFA is committed to preventing that from happening. One of our biggest advocacy victories was the Department of Labor. NAIFA took them to court and we won. And now the Department of Labor and SEC is getting together, listening to the NAIFA message, and the NAIFA message will be that in all times we have to act in the best interest of that client. I know everyone in this group does that already. Who here is not a member? Can I see? Raise your hands. Please don't be shy. Somebody's not going to beat you up if you're not a member. Raise your hands. Great. Okay, we got a few people raising their hands. Wonderful. So I have a question for you. Why would you buy NAIFA for its advocacy? You're getting it for free every day. It's like a newspaper. I get a newspaper online. I read it. When I walk by the newsstand, why am I going to pick up that print edition? It makes no sense for me. You're getting the advocacy for free. So let me tell you about this, the selfish reason why you should become a member of NAIFA, the education portion. We promise to educate you. We have on-demand programming for you, just like your cable company has an on-demand program. You can be at the gym, walking on the treadmill. You can be jogging outside, and you can have a NAIFA program in your ear and watching it on your mobile phone. Our website is second to none for sales ideas and programming. Second part of my personal story. Some buddies of mine, I played high school sports with them. 6 brothers and sisters. I have all their business. They would never ever pull a trigger on a buy-sell agreement. I pulled an idea off the NAIFA website. 2 weeks later, a 6-figure commission was being written up. That's a true story. NAIFA will educate you. These programs that I've been talking about are always available to you 24/7. One of the largest firms out there did a study of their top producers. And they determined that the top producers who are NAIFA members earn $43,000 a year more in first year commission than their top producers who are non-members. These are the elite agents earning $43,000 or more. What would you do with $43,000? 1 year at college education at Yale without bribing anyone? Or you can use it for the bribe. We're from Jersey. You understand that. NAIFA is making that promise to educate you. Let's talk about the differentiate. Again, a personal story. I had heart surgery about 6 months ago. I met with virtually everyone on that surgical team and interviewed. If you don't think your clients are checking you out online and learning about you, you're mistaken. I sat with the surgeon, and she thought I was crazy when I asked her, I want to know who your manicurist is. I was dead serious. Before they crack me, I want to know who we're doing it. Your clients are putting their financial lives in your hands. You don't think they're asking about you? I wear this pin up here, very proudly. I'm sitting with in front of a client, more times than not, they'll look at that pin and say, what's that? That's NAIFA. It's my American Medical Association. I make a pledge to them that I'll always act in my client's best interest. I'm making that pledge to you right now. It works. NAIFA will be provided, hopefully in the near future, will be providing you with some leads and some programming that can help you differentiate yourself from the standard rank and file agent out there. Now, all those that raised their hand a little while ago, I'd like you to take out your cell phones, please. I know we normally ask you to put them away, but take them out. Come on, take them out. I'm not going to send you to some weird porn site. Take them out. Type in this address. We're going to be working on getting the address cleaned up. But yesterday when we did this presentation, we had about 25 people in the room, and 15 of them took out their cell phones and started typing in the address. To join NAIFA, your name, address, your name, email address, phone number, and your credit card. Press send. NAIFA is the greatest producer association in the history of the world. My promise to you, and what I believe, is this will be the best investment you make in your career. And if you don't like us, this is not a long-term 2-year commitment with a cell phone. don't like us at the end of the first month, feel free, leave. No one's going to point a finger at you. Now we have a group of people around the office, around the room here. If you just join NAFA with your cell phone, please raise your hand. Somebody will come over and give you a pen and pin you. That's the shortened version of it. It works. Roughly 50% yesterday, 30% in Illinois, 30% in Tennessee. Oregon did it. I don't know if the percentages there. This presentation works in front of an agency group, like Mass Mutual, a New York Life, or a Guardian. And it also works at your local events where you're bringing in people, you're drawing them in. It's 10, 15 minutes, and it's hitting. My ultimate goal is to get it to 60%. Our membership problems are solved. But you have to commit to making it work. You have to commit to doing it. If you don't, your local, regardless if you're a state or a local chapter, you will not grow. And we must grow. Are there any questions coming in? Any questions, Jack? Okay, so what I'm going to do is give you all my cell phone number. 908-310-8400. Don't call me, text me. Let me know your name, the event you want to be trained up on for this. Jonathan and I will coordinate with you. Just send me a text. Your name, local, how many people you think you'll have in attendance that are non-members. If you have enough, somebody will get on the road to come see you. The Philadelphia meeting yesterday, they're talking about now getting into 3 offices. New York, I think it was a New York Life, Mass Mutual, and an AXA office that each have 100 people. I've done this presentation in front of a Guardian office not long ago. I had about 12 people out of maybe 30 join. I did it in 150 people at New York Life over the summer and walked out with in excess of 25 applications. And you got to love New York Life because they're doing the ledger deduction. All I asked them to do is sign the ledger deduction form. That was so easy. People are signing up for it. But it comes back to you. Are you going to do this? Are you going to take this program and run with it? It works. I promise you. Suzanne, you have some additional remarks?
Yep. Okay, thank you, Dennis. By the way, we just got everybody as members here. Just picked everybody. We all joined. We're in. We're all in.
100%.
100%. So again, just to reiterate, if you have leads, you have any of these things, you can always send it to recruitment@nafa.org. You know, as we've been monitoring the chat, so if you have questions, by the way, please feel free to use the chat function to send in questions. Recruitment@nafa.org is a different email box. And maybe I'll just take a pause here to explain that when we're out doing prospecting, when we're talking about the growth part, you guys are all part of the growth team, we use this recruitment@nafa.org. So if you have anything that has to do with growth, send it to recruitment@nafa.org. Did I say that? Recruitment@nafa.org. Because again, we've never put in a structure that is doing a 4-layer, lead engine, and now we're trying to, again, coordinate across national, state, and local. But I think you can see if we all move together, the effect together would be amazing. So to that end, the things we wanted to end with during this, our first growth conference, is really 2 things. We want to make sure that we are tracking and that we are sticking to our knitting in terms of saying, we're going to do this and holding ourselves accountable. So we're going to consider this our accountability group, right? We had 175 people register for today. So whether you're here right now or you're going to watch later, you're going to be part of our accountability group, right? We are totally transparent. We are 100% all in. We are all in agreement that this is grow or die. We know that there's a lot of gaps of communication. I've had emails coming in while we're talking, chats, etc. If you have not been aware of all the new products and programs that we have delivered in the last 6 months, right? We are communicating, and we want you to know, right? Please call us. Please email us, right? Remember that if you're a leader out there, just to reiterate, Michelle Grassley Clark's role, her role is to take care of our entire chapter and local program. That's what mgc@nafa.org. So if you haven't been in the loop, if you haven't been talking to one of your state experience team members, if you don't know about the Learning Center, Professional Pathway, NAFA Live, the Limited and Extended Care Planning Center, if any of those things you're saying to yourself, I don't know what that is. You're saying, do we still have the virtual library? If you don't know about our new messaging, if all this is new to you, then there is somebody who absolutely wants to have a conversation with you. We'll do so as fast as possible. So we want to make sure everybody's in the loop. We have free form information. I guess I'll just stop for a second and just note, because it's a great time to remind everybody, because you guys are also can then tell everybody else, that we have consolidated our email at the national level. We have one newsletter that goes out on Fridays, okay, for all members. If you're a leader, you also get a communication basically at the top of the month and mid-month from leadership@nafa.org. From a membership standpoint, that one newsletter on Friday is consolidated, right? We get the same open rates on one newsletter as we did for having all of these sporadic newsletters, and now we're trying to train people to trust us that we're going to put it all into Friday, right? So just if you maybe want to check your email box tomorrow, we send it around noon Eastern-ish, around noon Eastern. If you don't see that all member, it's called the Friday newsletter internally. It's not that sexy of a name. It's the Member 2020 newsletter. If you don't see that, you might want to say, are you still on all the right email lists, right? Because as an accountability group, we all have to also realize that we're focused in on growth and we're focused in on going forward. And right now we're only 2.5 months on the clock for our brand new nation and national organization, okay? So there is a point at which it's on you. If you're don't be the guy that didn't get the memo, right? Don't be like, I didn't know, nobody told me. We're telling everybody, we can't tell enough, right? We're giving cell phone numbers out. Please let us know. Anything you can do, we can do to get the message out there to everyone. And that's one of the goals, is to make sure that we have a coordinated effort between national, state, and local. We need an awesome flow down of information, and we need an awesome uptake from local to state to national. So we can all move as one, right? That we're agreeing, that's what we're trying to do. So if you're not 100% all in, we're all going to be moving forward, and there's only one place to go. We cannot go backwards, because that old thing of NAFA doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't exist. There's nowhere to go backwards, because we're in our new association, right? So think of it again as, here's the business problem. If you had to open a business today and you had, let's not even give ourselves the extra. Let's say you only have 20,000 clients. So you're starting today, you got a couple million in the bank, you got 20,000 clients, and you have an entire national footprint with the distribution already in place. Could you make that a successful business? That's a pretty good start of a business. That's not bad. And that's where we are today. So we're coming at a place of strength, and we need the mentality of a performance mindset, right? So we're going to take one thing I neglected to mention earlier before we talk about our KPI dashboard, is that clearly this is not my first go around in the merry-go-round, right? I've done a lot of change management. I've done a lot of either growth organizations or turnarounds. There's something that is a management principle in growth that's really important. So growth is a mindset, right? There's fixed mindset and growth. You cannot grow with fixed mindset people. You have to just let them go and let them go by the wayside, because if we spend all of our time trying to convince everyone, it will detract our attention from where the energy can go. Energy is finite. Can we all agree? We have to put all of our energy into growth, all of it into being positive, all of it into being performance mindset. There's a principle in growth management and change management, and this is the formula. Event plus reaction equals outcome. E plus R equals L. We had an event. January 1st, we became a new NAFA. We can react to it positively, excitedly, purposefully, take that as our cause, or we could react a different way, right? But we choose our reaction. Each individual has a choice of reaction. That's the one thing you get to do. You cannot, control events, but you can control your reaction. Every human gets that choice. So event plus reaction. So the way we react to what happened on January 1st, the way we react to this possibility of growth, it's on each individual, right? And that's going to determine the outcome. So if we have 175 people, January 1st, we became a new NAIFA, and we have 175 people decide right here and right now, my reaction is going to be go forward and grow. The outcome is going to be amazing. And you know what else it's supposed to be? Fun. It's supposed to be fun. Growth is fun. Getting new people in is fun. Changing is fun. It's life-giving, right? So we want to focus in on that. So back to our accountability. KPI growth dashboard. This is just what we've come up with at National. And hey, accountability team, we want everybody's input because this is what we're going to do now, quarter over quarter. This was our growth summit to kind of be our kickoff rally for 2019. We have our next meeting at the end of the next quarter, right? So we already have that on the calendar, make sure everybody has it. We'll go ahead and set the dates for Q3 and Q4 as well, right? But what we want to do is come back together and say, how'd we do, right? And we've had most of the conversations on chat have been about metrics. What kind of metrics do we have? How can we see, we want to really see brass tacks. What are the numbers? We want to give you the numbers, right? So we are working as hard as we can to get that data and put it away. The KPI growth dashboard we think we need to see is the number of agency presentations we've done, not just national, but national plus state plus local together, right? We want to know how big of an impact can we have as one NAIFA. It can't be, we're not separate entities anymore. We're one thing. So there's no finger pointing. We're all in. We're all in. So if we can all get agency presentations together, nationals working on them, states working on them, locals are working on them. If we can have, we had our number of two agency presentations per state per month, one per local, then we're all going to have that and we're going to say, how'd we do, right? And there's only two things in growth mindset and growth performance evaluation that you ask. What did we do right and what can we improve? There are no other questions. There is no other question that matters. It doesn't matter what we did wrong. It's all just what did we do right and what can we improve? There's no room for negativity. There's no room for toxicity. There is no room for being kind of on the fence. We can't sit back and say, well, I would have, no, that is called a luxury. If you have time to complain in growth, that says you're not the growth person. Right? There is no time in survival mode for commentary and too much analysis and all of this type of stuff. In growth mode, there is move forward or die. That's all we have, right? So it's super positive, and we don't even worry. If it didn't work, it's done. We're not in focus. What did we do right? What can we improve? E plus R equals L. Event plus reaction equals outcome. So if we control our reaction, we control the outcome. Okay, so the number of agency presentations is going to be key because, again, we think that that's the best way to kind of get groups of people in the door at one point because we can't just walk up and say, hey, nationwide, why not just ledger deduct? Have you thought about that? Again, same type of thing. So we're going to have to do this, bit by bit. So we're really building, this new association from scratch, with getting the benefit of already having, 20,000, like 24,000 people around that believe in NAIFA. Next thing we thought is we need to show the number of advisor ambassador registrants we have, the conversion ratio between number of registrants to number of members, right? So I told you today that out of this program that we spent $2,000 on today, we have basically 20 new members, okay? So is that good? Is that bad? Well, numbers are only useful when I can see them over a course of time so we can assess them. But why don't we start tracking these numbers together so we can find out and we can correlate, okay, well, where's the membership going? Where's the revenue coming from? How are we doing? So let's do it together. Obviously, number of new members, we want to see that. And we also want to see the number of non-members submitted to national. So we want to see in total, what's our prospect pool? How are we doing in converting prospects to members? These seem like good numbers. Would we all agree? Those in the room? Online, someone said, what would be great, and this is where this is really helpful to have this as our accountability group, to say, we'd like to know for all of our corporate partners, and for corporate partners, how many new members are we getting for our corporate partner program? Elena, would you be tracking that? Elena's going to track that. We're going to have a dashboard per corporate partner program, and we can share it with you guys too, right? Somebody else said, hey, it would really be great to know are we tracking the number of agency presentations we've had to date, and then of those, how many members do we get? So what's a conversion rate per agency presentation we're doing? Which was what Dennis was talking about, 30%, 50%. So we've been doing it very loosey-goosey, but we could start now in Q2. We could try to backtrack and get to whatever we had in Q1. It's going to be a little fuzzy map, but we could do that as long as we're all reporting together. With our new structure, with Michelle Grassley-Clark's leadership on the chapter and field level, we should be able to have that, and that's a consistent pull-through all the way together, right? So if we're focused on growth, we can do that. Anybody in the room have any other thoughts, or anybody online having other metrics? Brian?
Are lapsed members good prospects?
Here, the question came in. Are lapsed members good prospects? Okay. Lapsed members are something that is it easier? Okay, so you got divorced from your partner. Is it easier to go back and rekindle the relationship, or is it easier to go start and date somebody new? Which one's easier? New slate, right? No baggage. No baggage. Do we ever want to go back and talk to lapsed members? Of course, of course. But is that the number one thing we want to do? No. We want to go after new people who don't know us, who don't have emotional baggage, who don't have this piece of it, who say, I want to be the new face of NAIFA too, right? Because we need the energy. And if you think about just energy begets energy, if we bring in a lot of disgruntled lapsed people and they're like, okay, I guess I'll come back, and then they don't have a phenomenal experience, it's double jeopardy on a lapsed member. It's double jeopardy. So what our theory on that is just the theory of attraction. If we do a really great job and the lapsed member, maybe the curmudgeons, the people that were all crotchety about it and didn't like whatever, and they went by the wayside, and they see all of a sudden us taking off and us having all this new stuff and us being really strong, then the fear of missing out kicks in. And those lapsed members will come back on their own, or they won't. And that's okay, because what are we focused in on? Growth. We're focused on growth. Okay. So again, as we look at our cancellations, we start looking at that each month. We're going to start breaking it down and be, is it a good cancel or is it a bad cancel, right? More importantly, what we are tracking and what we want to talk about and strategize together is for people that join January 1st of 2019 to date, as we go forward, what's happening with those people? Who are they? Where they come from, right? Are they in our target market? How long are they going to stay from year 0 to 1? Are they being cared for? Are we loving up on these people? Are they feeling impassioned about NAIFA so we can get them through the gauntlet of those first 3 years, right? So we don't see attrition at year 4 to 6, right? If you see year 4 to 6, somebody didn't get any value. Something went amiss. So we need to do that together and take ownership together to move forward. Anybody have any other? Yes, Zach?
Where could I find the recording and PowerPoint from today's session?
Where could I find the recording and PowerPoint of today's session? So we are going to put that somewhere. We have a lot of new places that we're archiving. Thank you, Zach, for that question. By the way, if you've never seen a NAIFA Live, we have a new NAIFA Live on demand where you can see the past pieces. We also have that. We're building that for any of the diversity and inclusion webinars. We also will have that for thought leadership webinars, and we will have this for our growth team. So I think we'll put that together, and we'll just send everyone the link. That sound good?
Does it make sense to discuss the onboarding process and what new members can expect, or what this team can expect as they onboard new members?
Sure. So great question. So the question is, what about maybe you're not totally aware of the NAIFA 2020 onboarding experience. So if you go to NAIFA.org and you go on our membership section, it'll actually show you all of the 12 months and what we've outlined. So what we do and the way it works is that as new members join, first of all, every Monday, we take anybody who's joined from the prior week and we send them an email saying, welcome new member. As a matter of fact, I will just include this link onto our growth page so everybody can see what we send. Okay, so they get a new email and basically it says, for the top of each month, we hold a live member orientation webinar. So the first Monday of each month, John Spear holds this welcome new member orientation, and we basically give the overview of NAIFA. But in reality, we have so much to offer, it's overwhelming. So we have more than 12 months to talk about. So what we did is we broke out the top benefits, and each month we step you through. So month 1 is your new member orientation, and then you plug right into whatever month sequence we're on. So for example, if you joined in today on March 14th, you would say, hello, welcome to you can either, 1, come to the live new member orientation in April, or you can watch the one that just happened in March that you missed, right? And we're now going into month 4. So month 4 benefit is Dan Finley with a coaching session, which all members are able to go to, right? What a phenomenal benefit. So many of our members don't know that. Right? Dan Finley is sitting there waiting. Like, I'd love to coach some people up. You get personal coaching, right, from an expert. So month 4, Dan Finley is going to talk about his coaching program and how you can benefit from it. If I join now in March, what happened in January, February, and March? What did I miss? So all those links are there for you too in that email. So January, you can, again, hear the new member orientation. February goes through ClientCast and Power Session Live, and March was all about introduction to advocacy. So we put advocacy right there within the first 3 months of your membership. Maybe they're not going to be ready, but we plant the seed. Like, this is what you do. This is part of NAIFA. And so we are also trying to take any of the fear out of advocacy and get people, again, prime the pump. What a great time in the month of March to tell people that you could come to Congressional Conference in May for $100, right, to have a lifetime experience. So what a great way to pull new people in and let them know that's the pathway, right? So they don't need to figure it out themselves. We can just kind of point them in the direction. Then they can kind of say, okay, I want to choose these options. So you get your email on Monday. You go start to, by the way, those emails have been like high 60% open rates. Okay, so I mean, we've got them. Let's not lose them, right? So they can see value immediately. So we lead them through this whole year. Month 6, just so you know, is IFA PAC. So our IFA PAC team tells us at month 6, that's when you want to start talking about the PAC. Anything before that is too early. Okay, so month 6, IFA PAC comes in, and by the way, each of these webinars is usually led by the subject matter expert who really knows all the nuts and bolts of their program. Okay, so month 6 comes in, and we talk about IFA PAC and what IFA PAC does and the importance of it and what PIC chairs do, what PAC chairs do, and what this means to the industry. So people are understanding, and they're getting spoon-fed and led through this so that they don't have to guess, and they're not waiting for somebody to tell them, and it's not word of mouth, because that's one of the problems we had is people just didn't know. This is the new member track. By the way, there's an entire other track that looks very similar but a little bit more depth for current members. Because the number one thing I heard for last year is current members saying, I had no idea you did that. I had no idea you did that. The only thing that NAIFA has for me is the monthly meeting. That is so not the case, right? So we have to be able to spoon feed people now. People are overwhelmed. So giving them bite-sized chunks to go through all of the NAIFA membership benefits so that by the time, each time their credit card is getting charged that month or the annual commitment comes up again, there should be no question as to the value. Right? And we will just continue to improve on that as our systems get better. There's no reason you can't have, at some point in the future, have an email that comes out to say, hey, this month, your $56 went to this. You attended one webinar, you went to this event, you did X, Y, and Z. So we're getting to that point where you can say that. You would see the real ROI of your investment into NAIFA. By the way, one thing before we move on, we didn't talk about this in any extent, but I just want to leave you with this idea. We're talking about how it's no longer going to be that a company just says, hey, yeah, just go ahead, we'll pay for you. Like, hey, come on in. You know, we'll pay for your whole membership forever for 61 years, you know? So probably not going to happen anymore. Another thing that's different, so we're now trying to sell membership and include people in a completely voluntary situation. And this is money that is completely nice to have money. Nice to have family money. This is my personal money to put $660 into NAIFA, right? And I need to be able to say to myself, what's the ROI of that investment? Is that, we all agree with that? But what we found is that in today's world, we're not just selling to one person, we're selling to the household. Because that $660, that's a good chunk of change, right? That could be a season for my kid to play soccer. That could be part of my orthodontist bill. That could be like new baby care visits. That could be all sorts of stuff that $660 could go to. So we got to sell not once, but twice, right? One of the reasons we need to differentiate is how great. If I'm putting in $660, somebody's like, hey, where's that 56 going? You know, that's the price of our, cell phone bill for one person, maybe, and you can say to the person, oh, wait a minute, do you know that I just got mentioned by NAIFA Ohio or NAIFA National, and I'm on Advisor today, and my picture's out there, and they picked this up, and they're helping me grow my practice, babe. What do you think about that? I'm far more likely to be like, hey, I like this organization. And we need that partner to have the accountability to say, like, did you pay the dues? Because at some point coming soon, we are going to make sure that we are rewarding people for continuous years of service. No breaks in the membership. That person who put 61 years in here, I'm going to call them up and send them flowers, because that's amazing. And we want to reward that and recognize that and celebrate it, right? So we need to do more of that piece of it. So remember that when we're talking about this, we're now selling to a household, right? And every dollar counts, as you guys know. So $660 is still, it's substantial. But if it's going to be an investment for my partner to be the best they can be in their profession and to help my household and help us be great and stand out in our community, absolutely. Not even a question. Let's make it 1,000, right? So we need to be able to get to that point. That's where that differentiate really comes in, because we need to be able to show return on their investment to us. Okay, that's the thinking.
Just real quick, one of your KPIs there about the number of agency presentations. It's very important that we know when these are happening, even if you're doing them sort of quote unquote in a vacuum, even if you're doing them without us. Once we train you up, we need to know when they're happening so that we can track them, because part of what we want to deliver out to our corporate partners is, hey, we've talked to this many of your agencies this month. We've been in front of this many people, and we've had this many new people join.
Yeah,
so
great point.
When we send out the follow-up email with this with those links, we should also we're also going to put in the link of the page to schedule time with me to discuss these, so that everybody knows how to let us know that they're having them.
Great point. Great point. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
All right. So in closing, we have really done a phenomenal job on timing all of our speakers. Here's our growth directive. So we're going to go out and grow. So on each of our 4-layer, what we asked is on the corporate partnerships, send us introductions. Stay abreast of where we have special rates. Where might we get that, Zach? Well, we could go to our leadership page, which our Michelle's Grassley Clark and her group maintain, which has a link to all of our corporate partnerships that are signed corporate partnerships, right? And we can also, we're also in process of updating our NAIFA.org site, et cetera. But that's one place. And if we can always, again, make sure we need to put it 3 different places, you just let us know. We will put it as many places as we need to. On the agency presentation side, 2 presentations per state per month, 1 per local, right? And we put this out there with Dennis's input as to saying what does Dennis think is realistic? This was his number. And we can then go ahead. If we blow it out of the water, hey, don't think that's the maximum. If you blow it out of the water, blow it out of the water. Let's get more, right? And let's figure out how we can reward doing more agency presentations. For chapters and locals, the ask we're making is that 10 people per month you are directing to get into the Advisor Ambassador program, right? What does that mean? Put the link on your website. We have an entire promotional kit for that. Talk about on your Facebook page, get onto social media, do more there. The people that we need in their 20s, 30s, 40s, they do business online. They're looking for clients. They're trying to differentiate themselves on social media. So if anybody says, I'm too old for that, I've never been on social media, it doesn't pertain to me, we don't need it, well, our president should have just knocked that out of the ballpark for you, right? Because you can't, as I said to one person, you don't want to be the last house on the block that doesn't have the TV, right? And you're like, I didn't know. It's the equivalent. This is a whole other piece that we have to have social media in our lives now and understand how it works. 10 people per month into the Advisor Ambassador program. And then our goal here is direct to individual. This means how many people are we aiming to have in each class per month? and we're aiming for 200 people per class per month. For 200 people in there with a 30% conversion ratio is what we're going to use. See if that works. Let's spin it up. Let's see what we get. Right?
Suzanne?
Yeah.
Can we comment on that 2 presentations per month?
Sure.
Per state? We realize that the small states, Rhode Island and Delaware, may not have a large agency presentation that they can be doing this 2 per month. So we would understand that. But for Florida, California, New Jersey, New York, Texas, we would hope that you would look at this and say 2 presentations would not be enough. That you could put a team together, that each person, to say it's a 5-person team, each person's doing 1 presentation per month. That's 5 per month in California, 5 per month in Texas and in Florida. Please use your judgment with it, but we're going to grow through these agency presentations. Don't do them. Your numbers are going to stay stagnant or keep decreasing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Dennis. With that, we're at 3 o'clock. Go grow. Hashtag NAPA proud. So thanks everybody so much for being here and participating in our inaugural event. We look forward to working together.